Double orange from new campaign.
Yep.
Big!
Yep, definitely not news, but we didn't talk about it last week because it happened just after.
And
It's fantastic. Honestly, this is a level of responsiveness to feedback that I've never seen before in World of Warcraft. And does it solve every problem immediately? No. Who gives a fuck? It solves a lot of them. That's what we're here for.
Cool.
We're here for a lot of problems being solved in a very short time, because you track that forward and we have no problems left. Or, we won't ever have no problems left, but we'll have less problems very quick, as opposed to wait for the perfect solution. Because obviously, perfect is the enemy of good enough.
now, as much as it's easy to clown on the ivory towered Mythic Raiders, I actually do think they have a really solid gameplay point on this, and I actually really do agree with it. Straight up, I think this should just be there very soon on launch, and I think that this raid tier should be designed for double legendaries, because double legendaries is the new thing this tier. It's the new gameplay, so let us have some fun through all of those bosses. Obviously, Blizzard has chosen to go a different way on it. But basically, it used to be you had to get revered with the Enlightened faction in Zereth Mortis, to which everybody said, "Oh my god, how the fuck have you managed not to learn your lesson? Really?" So then the community's got to be like, "We are so tired of having to do this every patch. Please learn your... Please don't do it. Please do it." Oh, and everyone's so tired, and they actually do it. So... and you're obviously, I'm playing up the exasperation, but to make a point, it's like, learn the principle, apply the principle, bam! The job is done. You actually don't need to redesign it again, because you've learned the principle. If it works, it works. Don't change it again. I think maybe some tweaks could be in order for this, but basically, it used to be grinding a rep, which technically was not player power, put onto the cipher of the first ones, even though you would be getting that rep at the same time you were progressing your cipher of the first ones. But no, they listened, they learned, and with this week's changes, you instead unlock your double Legos by completing Chapter 7 of the Zereth Mortis campaign, meaning there is no need to grind every day. Chapter 7 does not occur in Week 7, it occurs on Week 5 of this patch, which means Week 3 of Mythic Raid progression, for those of you who are in that. Now, that usually would mean that it would be outside of the scope of the Race to World First. But it does mean that, obviously, if you're a Mythic raiding guild, you guys are going to be getting a power bump in Week 3.
Yep, and you're going to have to... I guess they would have already planned around not having it if it was going to be later, but yeah. Yep, absolutely.
So they respond to this, but not the Mage Tower. Difference is, it's a lot easier to respond to this because it's in the, this is the PTR, right? So, that they have production time on the game and staff hours allocated to doing this and to reacting to this feedback. Whereas the Mage Tower, that would be pulling somebody off a thing to do another thing, and I think that's probably...
Yep, absolutely. I do have a little bit of a solution for this general problem, I think.
Oh.
And this is going to be the most I don't think anyone would have, it's so slightly outside of the box. I don't think anyone would have thought about it. But, I was thinking, okay, well, you want to design your game around getting this, right? Because this is the new thing. You want to design everything around it. You could utilize it as a power bump, obviously, like they're opting to do. But I feel like that's a little bit too strong of a power bump to bounce around, generally speaking. Also, the power bump is very different across, I was about to say jobs, across classes and specs. Because some are like, oh yeah, this Covenant Legendary fucking owns, let's go. And others are like, this is basically pointless. I don't even, should I bother getting it? Maybe not that serious, but here's a solution. Make content specifically around getting this. Make this quest line to get it separate from the campaign. Drop it on day one. Make it a thing you go do elsewhere. Obviously, they can't do that now. But, that's the ideal thing. You want to make it like a journey to get it, make it doable in one sitting, make it a thing you can do in day one of the patch, and then you've got more content. Because one thing is I keep thinking about is how they discuss the Mage Star and rewards. Like, hey, we've got the rewards. Fuck it, we'll make some content. There you go. You've got an excuse to make more content. Doesn't need to be special. Could literally be, hey, someone's got something for you. Go talk to them for a little bit. Go, fight some enemies, whatever, but just make it content. That's separate from the campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be it.
Yep.
I agree.
Yep.
So I guess just to unpack this, then of course there is some talk here. The memory of Unity is remaining on the Reputation vendor and still remains account-wide unlock, like the other things. Yep. So that's the like Omni thing. So it's on that vendor, but you just have to have completed Chapter 7 in order to actually purchase it. So you don't need to do the Reputation. So that's certainly a good thing. Yep, then saying the new quest requirement is being added to head off any feeling of needing to rush ahead to Revered. And this is great because we don't want...
Rush.
We don't want... I mean, number one, we don't want Mythic Raiders who have got to do things that are, bad for their friggin' sanity and well-being.
Yeah.
And ultimately you could say they choose to do that. True, they do. But also we do live in reality. The race to world first is a thing. We know what's up.
Yeah, you have to think about all of the other motivations players have.
Yeah.
I think that's what I like, because I've been trying to puzzle this through in my head. Like, why is everything so rewards focused? Why is no one looking at like the impact of it? And I think it's probably because the thinking on player motivation is too single faceted. I think if all of the player motivations and all of the user stories were considered, then things would be a little bit more. Hey, maybe we shouldn't give every bit of gameplay a bit of a reward. Maybe we should focus things out.
I don't know, because see, then the really tricky thing is that in a world where some gameplay does have reward, people will never do that. It's like Deaths of Chromie, one of the more innovative, interesting things. And from my experience, I did it in PTR. I really enjoyed it. I haven't done it in live. And I remember, I think Tally basically said the same. And I mean, look, Deaths of Chromie's really good. It won't progress your character at fucking all. Not in the slightest.
That's why it's the best
progress
thing
your
they've done.
character, and it's fun. Are you going to do it? Yes or no? And I mean, that's...
Yep.
And it's really tricky because it impacts me as well. I'm 100%. We're not sitting here being like, we have... I wish I could do like, that graph like Alex Jones. Oh, I've read the papers. But, we've read the papers and stuff, and that does not mean that we are freaking immune to this. We are absolutely not immune to any of this whatsoever. It absolutely bing, wahoo's our brain all the time. And it's bloody hard. And it's probably a real... fisting as a designer.
Oh, I guess that's the whole problem. It's like I'm trying to think of a really good this is kind of insane. Ghost of Tsushima as a game, not as a game, as a story, actually is like this feel where it's like, gotta play dirty. If your enemy's playing dirty, you can't not play dirty. If back in the dirty days of boxing, if you're gonna win your fight, you're gonna have to put some stones in your gloves. Like,
yeah,
very unfortunate. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, there's Paul Scott saying maybe if people weren't burned out doing the required things for power, they'd spend their time playing on fun stuff.
That's very true as well.
Or would they?
Yeah.
Or would they? Are you if you've got $1 billion franchise on the line, are you willing to take that risk? That's the problem. Yeah. That's the problem.
And it's tricky. In disposable mobile games where really what you're looking to do is over the span of 8 months rinse somebody, fine. But the challenge for MMO developers is they have to do this for a game that you're going to be playing for 10 years.
They have to motivate you forever.
And I think that is why for Blizzard it's got to be... I'm not just sitting here being like, player housing will solve everything. It won't. But things like the player housing, things that let you have more of an investment in the world... that make Azeroth feel like a place and not a reward track. That's the big ticket. And I have a little feeling, at least with my Guild Wars 2 series, that I'm going to be actually probably extremely positive for most of it. And then I think I'm going to hit the end game and be like, well, what keeps me in Tyria? Yep. And I think that'll be an interesting time because it's going to be me as a WoW player being shot into a game with horizontal progression. That'll be weird.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for player housing as because obviously extrinsic and intrinsic motivations can blend. Obviously, you're not doing things just for reward, just for fun. There's usually something in the middle, and player housing has the potential because there's customization and freedom in it. There's potential for collectible people to go, well, I must collect everything for my house. But then there's a possibility for hey, I think this is where games tend to run the best, where they're like, as a blend between the ideas is, hey, I want to have a cool house, because I'm intrinsically motivated in a whole bunch of different ways, including social, which is obviously a really strong motivator for humans because we're social animals. But okay, well, I want a cool house to show off because I'm a big egotistical bastard, you know. So I really want the cool thing. What's the cool thing? How do I get the cool thing? That is a extrinsic reward, but also kind of intrinsic because you're getting to play with the fun of the thing. That's why unlocking abilities is cool, in theory, because you then get more intrinsic fun out of it. So that's the kind of blend you should be looking for. And player housing, like you say, would be great on that front because it allows so much more customization and playing around and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it works like... Yep. It's like anytime you can get just a little bit of that Minecrafty bit in your game, it's like a superpower in there. I think. For sure. Yeah, so, How to solve... I don't know, but I do think the player housing is one thing for some people. I think guild housing actually might be even more important. Yeah, I think about...
Ideally, you'd want both.
Like we have our FC place
in
in FF14, and it's like I don't really do anything mechanical there.
No.
But it's just really nice that it's there. I actually feel like I have this little bit of the world that I'm kind of tied to.
Yeah.
And it's purely because it has permanence and, it is in Shirogane, but it's not like a Stormblood thing. It's not like garrisons where that's a what? Like, who's fucking going back to their garrison? Unless there is some, kooky way to make gold from the garrison. Who's going back to their garrison? So
people who are teleporting around the world using it. Because the Hearthstone exists, that's maybe it.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult problem, to be honest, but... I mean, I guess whoever actually solved the problem has just saved all of video games. So, don't know who's going to do that. Also, they would immediately be killed by all the people who make money from video games.
Yeah, that would get them.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, man. So, yeah, look, interesting stuff. But actually, let's just continue this role of... Oh, wait, no, one thing I do want to engage with, because I think...
Yes.
Was it Max who was pissed? I forget. I don't know.
Yeah,
Some of the Rays are a bit pissed.
Yep.
Basically on, what are the implications for this, like, for the raid. A lot of people just being like, hey, double Legos could be cool. I mean, also, they'd be cooler if it wasn't just Covenant Legendary plus the other one. And, maybe we actually are in a world where if it was just double Legos, do whatever you want, maybe Blizzard would be more happy to let people have that week 0.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, we've opened up what you can do with the toys that are in your box. But if it is just everyone gets their Covenant Lego at the same time, then maybe it's more of just a predictable power bump and if there's less interactive fun. Maybe that's what their opinion is.
Yeah, so that's where I generally think that... I mean, there's so many reasons to tell Blizzard, please dial down the borrowed power. Pretty please. But it's like, so much of it isn't even, please dial down borrowed power. We don't want to have new stuff that you take away. That's one of the prevailing arguments. But it's also like, look at the sheer amount of, like, I guess, different cogs in the machine that they have to worry about is like, double legendary, the Covenant stuff, okay, that makes it predictable. But what does having the Covenant legendary in terms of resource generation, as an example, Paladin, obviously that is their Judgment or Holy Shock will continue to hit after the Divine Toll, so that is extra resource generation and extra uses of stuff. So how does that impact with anything that, cost resources to use in your soulbands? As an example, the Conduit Virtuous Command for Ret, which when Judgment is cast, I don't know if it's when you use Judgment or when Judgment is cast, but it, has this buff with uptime. So if you have the Covenant legendary, and that throws Judgments out, then that's going to increase the value of the Soulbind or of the Conduit. And that's going to increase resource generation. It's going to mean you cast, if that's true, you could then cast Judgment less, and then you could Blade of Wrath more. And then, how does that interfere with Art of War and the other Conduit Expurgation that you probably run? And then you're just like, well, you have a spider web of design, and I have
so hard to balance.
I have no fucking idea how to do it. Like, whenever the game is unbalanced, I'm not surprised at any point in time because they make it difficult for themselves. Maybe they have some nice spreadsheets and stuff that will kind of help them balance this easy enough. But it's still like, it's so multifaceted. You're like, Jesus Christ, what's going on? What is going on? And if you cut borrowed power to an ability instead of 47 different random procs or 47 different percentage increases that go up by 1 or 2 or 3% every patch, I guess that's just the thing.
Yeah.
Just the thing.
Yeah, wild.
Yep.
Oh, jeez. Right, well, we do have to let's get on to a bit of good news.
Yep.
Flying change. All right, so previously the flying thing was bullshit. And I'm glad that my progress on PTR was kind of slow. Because actually I was just trying to do it from a I didn't want to hyper game it. I just wanted to do it sort of casually. Be like, these are my actual first impressions playing it as a bit of content instead of, playing it as, sometimes I think it's, the same way game journos can just hyper game journal through a game because they have to get it done for review. So I'm glad I slacked on it because now, it's better and I don't have to make that video, which is good. So it just used to be you had to go through loads of Cypher of the first one's research, which meant that you had to grind the stuff to get the, currency to do the research. But then every time you research in one of the trees, it's like an 18-hour timer. 18 hours. So it sucked. But they've changed it, and this is great. This is so good. How do you unlock flying? Oh, wait. Now this is a YouTube video. Welcome back. This is how you unlock flying in Zereth Mortis. You do this easy as shit stuff. Right, so explore Zereth Mortis. Just do that day 1. 5 treasures. Do that day 1. 3 side quests. Do that day 1. Read 7 volumes of Fareem in Exile. Do day 1. Complete 10 special encounters. Do on day 1. Complete the storyline means to an end. Do in week 3. Now, it could still be, 3 weeks to fly. But this is 3 weeks without having to do chores.
Yeah. Also,
better.
Yeah, so this is note that says completable on day 1, not completed on day 1.
Oh, yeah.
It's, you've got 3 weeks to do this stuff. So it's not like a mad dash. It's a gentle, like, hey, you want to log in and do 5 treasures one day? Sure.
Sure beats.
You want to do the side you've got more time, so do the side quests, pay attention, read the text. Fuck it, go for it. You want to get
you wouldn't like sort of something more along the lines of
complete
day
on
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, and so on and so forth, which is how whenever it turns into a daily chore it feels. So this is fantastic. This means shock horror. Once again, they listened. They actually listened to feedback. They were maybe a wee bit late in listening to feedback, but listen, they did. So that is that's totally a good thing. Yeah, so a good thing. I did see one comment from somebody saying, "Oh, this is the first expansion where you've had to unlock flying twice."
Yeah.
I just thought to myself, well, that's because that's not applicable to those other. You only had to unlock it once in Legion, and Argus wasn't built for flying in mind.
Yeah.
Like, you get a free camera in Argus, and suddenly a lot of that art stops working. And then, of course, the final patch of that other expansion, Battle for Azeroth.
Buffa.
Yes, the old Buffa. That took place in the regular open world, so it had flying anyway.
Yeah.
So, anyway, good.
Yeah.
Good.
And you know what the thing is? Obviously, for anyone watching a clip, this isn't going to make sense. But what I talked about earlier, you've got 3 weeks to do this. Don't force yourself to do it in day 1.
Yeah.
Don't go achievement list, must complete. Go, you know what? I am going to read the fucking side quest text. I am going to read all 7 volumes of Fareem in Exile, even though my brain will explode because the lore is getting out of hand big time. 10 special encounters. Do them if you have time. Save the side quest till Saturday morning when you wake up and do your chores and then sit down for some rewarding gaming.
Yeah.
There you go.
Great.
Yeah.
So
you might have more fun than you might possibly expect. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Maybe. Not to apologize for it, but